Hello friends, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone had a fantastic week. If you're new here, my name is Melissa, and in this video, we'll disassemble an 18-inch grapevine wreath and see just how many projects we can create from it. This is part 1 of 2, so if you haven't already subscribed, do that before leaving so you don't miss part 2. Stick around until the end where I have a special project dedicated to breast cancer awareness, something that you can keep for yourself or give to a friend. Getting right into it, I'm going to start by clipping the larger vine that wraps all the way around all of the pieces. This actually ends up being a really cool shape, so we'll see later what we can do with it. We're going to just set that aside, and then we're going to start to see kind of, are these all intertwined together, or are some of them going to release pretty easily? I have never done this before. I've never worked with any kind of grapevine at all. So we're just looking and seeing what we need to do and how many smaller pieces we can get from this large. And as you can see, it is really easy to pull these things apart. This is an 18-inch wreath from Michaels. I'll have it linked down below. Every day when it's not on sale, it's $5.99. And you can see here that we have 4 major parts that came from this one wreath. And as we break these down, we'll be able to make smaller projects from them. Now here you can see I have a big tub of water with some rocks holding the grapevine down, and we're going to let this soak for a few days. What comes out of here will probably be in part 2 because I do need to give it its due time. So here's a piece that I actually chose not to soak because I'm just going to make a wreath and it doesn't need to be soaked. But I'm going to start off by just putting on a little bit of eucalyptus and holding it in place with my floral wire. This project is the simplest of the 3. The other 2 following this one is a little bit more, they're a little more involved, you'll see. But this one is just a simple wreath with some fall colors. And I'm just going to let you watch me work through it here. Those smaller orange flowers, as well as those orange dahlias, I think they came from Dollar Tree. And here you see me just putting a few of these smaller ones on a eucalyptus leaf. I do like to assemble some parts outside of the main body of a project occasionally and then assemble it that way. Kind of see how I'm just covering it up there, and this is making it a lot easier for me to apply this, and you'll see in just a second what I have in mind for it. Just going to tuck it under here, give it a little shot of glue, and now I have some flowers peeking out. We're just giving it a check in the back to make sure everything is holding in place. I think I found a piece of wire that was loose here, so I'm just kind of tying it up so nobody gets stuck. And then I'm going to reinsert this leaf with the smaller twigs. You see that rope at the top? I originally did put a piece of rope up there for hanging it, but I will remove that later in the project and not use any hanger at all. But this is totally optional. You certainly can if you like. Again, more Dollar Tree specials. I'm working a little bit out of frame here. I do apologize. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Of course, the Grapevine wreath is a classic, and we couldn't do a video without it. And as I was looking at it, thinking it needed a little something more, a little bit in the way of maybe a little bit lighter colors. So I picked out of my stash a few of these dried wheat twigs, and I'm just popping them in there, taking them out, popping them in, just trying to find the right place for them. We have done 0 damage to the Grapevine wreath. We haven't glued anything to it. And it'll be very easy to disassemble and use this again later. But this is just a very simple and I think elegant wreath for my front door. And let me know what you think. Would you add a large bow at the top? Or keep it like this? This next DIY is a little more involved, but I think if you stick with me, you'll enjoy the outcome. I picked this and a couple of other oval blanks from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just taking a little bit of wood filler and filling in these holes. You could certainly use spackle, and that'll dry just as quickly, I think. But I'm flipping it over and doing the other side as well because I want to cover these up and make our surface nice and flush. And when we're done with that, I'm going to go right in immediately and start to cover this in 1 coat of white acrylic paint. This is just to give it a nice base for where we're going to work. And now I'm going in on the edges with a couple of different shades of brown here and black, just brushing and dabbing it on, trying to give it that bark look. Like if this were a slice that were cut from a tree trunk. In my stash of rice paper, I found this beautiful image of 2 hummingbirds, baby hummingbirds, I assume, sitting in a nest in what looks like a raspberry vine. So we're going to use this one. I think it's very fitting for what we're working with today. So you'll see me just put a small Ziploc bag over my hand and use that to varnish out any wrinkles. And giving just a quick shot with my heat gun to dry the Mod Podge. And this is just a dry brush of antiquing wax. And you'll see me here in just a moment that I start to dab a little bit of this off because I really don't want it to have a big effect. I'm going to go ahead and blend it first with some water. And I really just want this to be just a hint of the brown, just so that the white isn't so stark. It also makes the edge of our rice paper look like it belongs. And there's a quick look at it. I hope that you can see how pretty that image is. Moving on, I'm going to be using 2 different kinds of clay. The oven baked in green so that I can make a couple of leaves here and skip the painting step for the most part, and also get them done quickly, get them dried quickly and ready to use. So these will go in the oven at 275 for 15 minutes. And while we wait, this is the air dry clay in a mold with just little scrolls, very small petite scrolls. And I'm going to make a couple of these because I'm not sure how many we're going to need. And then here's another mold that has some pretty little intricate detail scrolls in it. And I'm just going to make one full scroll and then one of the small flowers and set those aside. And I'm going to start to glue these molds on while they're still wet with some Aleene's tacky glue. We're going to position the scroll here on the top just to make that a nice focal point. And then start to run the rope detail around the edges. And there I'm going to go ahead and place that smaller flower in the center at the bottom. And when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, is this on here straight? Does the oval look right? Is it wonky? So I grabbed just a small wood round blank out of my stash, and I'm just using it to kind of push the edges of this rope and make sure that it's rounded. I tried to put a little bit of gold color on the edges with the gold leaf sheets off camera just to see how it would look, and it really wasn't giving me the effect that I was going for. So I pulled out this little jar of the gold leaf shreds, and I'm just applying it around the edges until it makes me happy. Quickly paint it over a thin coat of Mod Podge to keep everything in place. And now I'm pulling out a few of the vine pieces. Now these are not pieces that you saw me soaking earlier. These are just a few pieces that actually fell off of the wreath when I was pulling it apart. And we're gonna just place these on here in a way that look natural. So if you make this project, it doesn't matter the shape, the size, or even that it's the same kind of vine. I mean, for this particular DIY, you could probably even just go out in your backyard and get some small twigs off of something that's in the process of dying back for the season. But I'm just going to take a few minutes and using just the tiniest dabs of hot glue, adhere these vine sticks, for lack of a better term, to the plaque in a way that makes sense. I love how the vine has all these little squigglies on it. It's kind of where it was real thin and grew out and twisted around another piece. It's so cute. Just keep working with it until it looks right. This is just one of those little swigglies that I think is adorable and trying to find a home for it. And now I have pulled these out of the oven and I'm going to start to glue them on to make it look like these branches have leaves. Again, just adhering them where it makes the most sense. Next, I'm using a very pale shade of green and a gold shade of acrylic paint, and I'm just going over the leaves to make it look like the sun is shining down on them. And there I'm taking just a little bit of that light pale green and I'm just lightly dabbing some of that throughout the gold leaf that I put on earlier. And I'm looking at it feeling like, okay, I need something more. So I'm pulling out another mold here and I'm gonna make just a couple of flowers. These are really deep molds, so the definition on the flowers is really pretty. And again, we're just gonna go in while these are wet, just like we did the first go around. And we're gonna glue them on with our tack glue. And I'm just painting them in different shades of purple and pink, and that just helps to tie in those raspberries in the picture. I set this project aside to dry overnight to make sure that we didn't have any wet paint or clay, and came back in the next morning with a coat of durable top coat in clear by Rust-Oleum. This is flat, and any kind of shine that was on this project prior to applying it will be gone. Final step here is to turn it over, find the center, and attach a D-ring to hang it up. And she's done. Drop me a note below and let me know if you like this project. Was it too detailed, too many steps, or do you think it's something that you could enjoy sitting down and creating? I'm excited to find out. This is really very gift worthy, but I think this is one I'm gonna keep. The last project in this video is going to be a breast cancer awareness ribbon. So I'm going to start off lining up several of the pieces of grapevine that I cut down to roughly the same size, and I'm just lining them up to look at the sizes and the different pieces, and where they're arched I'm ensuring that those arches are facing me so that I can then kind of turn it into, I guess, fold it. You'll see it here in just a moment. This project was definitely a trial and error. I've never worked with grapevine before, so bear with me through this, and feel free in the comments to offer any tips and tricks if you're used to working with this and know of anything at all that can make it easier. Those tips and tricks help myself as well as other viewers. So let's go ahead and start wrapping this around our glue bottle. And the glue bottle is just a way to make sure that that center stays prominent and we don't have any stragglers going into the center of our ribbon. Over the next few minutes, you'll just see me trying to wrangle this thing and get my floral wire around here nice and tight. I decided to go in with just another piece of wire because I didn't really like how loose it still was, and this time I'm moving it up a little higher. And once I have that on, I do clip off the wire from the first attempt so that we don't have too much on there. Now you'll see me pulling out a couple of pieces that broke while I was bending it. This did, I guess it soaked for a little over 24 hours. I put it in yesterday at 2 p.m. and pulled it out today around 2:30, 3 p.m. And it was bendable, but I think it could have probably used another day to make it really workable. But as you can see, we're managing. And then once I have that wire on there the way I like it, I'm going to create just a little bow for the front, very feminine little bow. This is just a shoestring bow. But before I put that on, I want to cover up that wire. I'm gluing this in place. I'm using tiny little heads from a bouquet of pink roses that I have here. And I like the pink because pink is symbolic of friendship. So if this is a gift that you wanted to give to a friend who's possibly a survivor of breast cancer, or somebody who's currently going through the motions, the treatment, somebody who's currently fighting this disease, this would certainly, I hope, brighten their day. I have these tiny little flower embellishments that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. There's one of them. We're going to put that in the center of our bow. Just a cute little detail. And now I'm taking just a small amount of pink and white paint, and you'll see me mixing it together here to get a lighter shade of pink, and using it to paint the ends of the ribbon. While I'm creating this craft, I'm thinking about how I can use it to bring awareness to women all over the world about getting their annual mammogram, and just letting you know that it's not as bad as you may have heard or as bad as you may have pictured. It really is just a 10 or 15 minute in and out, and you will feel so much better when you know that you have taken care of yourself. Those monthly in-home self-exams are so important, and the mammogram, especially if you can get the 3D mammogram, if your insurance covers it, or if you can otherwise afford it, go ahead and do that, because these are life-saving measures that you can take to protect yourself against this disease that can quickly take your life or the life of a friend. If you're watching this and you fought the fight, are fighting the fight, we're here with you, this entire community. We're here to support you and love you through it. So please, if there's one thing I say, this one takeaway from this video is, if you haven't had your mammogram yet this year, go get it. What are you waiting on? Let's do this. We'll do it together. And now getting back to the project, I have flipped this over and I'm really just duplicating what I did on the front, because it appeared to me that this would be kind of a nice project to hang up and maybe even hang from a rear view mirror. So in that effort, I've duplicated it so it looks great from both sides. Here you see me just pulling out some of my handy fishing line, and I'm going to start to create a hanger. The first thing I do is tie this bundle together at the top to make it a little bit more tight, and then it'll also give me a place for the final piece of fishing line that will make this hang straight. And here we go with the second piece. If you intend to put this on your rear view mirror, make it a little longer so that you can get it around the head of the mirror. I decided to add a little bit of pink paint opposite the flowers just to give it a little more balance. And I'm doing that all over the front, back, and side. So this is what it looks like when it's all done. I shared this with my dear friend Jackie and asked her what she thought before I put it in the video. And she told me that she thought it needed more pink. So here it is before her advice, and I'm going to show you here what it looked like after. See here, we've just painted more pink on, and there are some touches of metallic gold paint on there just to bring it out a little more. And here they are side by side. So the lighting is different because one was in the evening and one was in the day. But let me know, which one do you like? Do you like the one with just a little bit of pink or the one that has more pink? I'm kind of leaning toward the one that has more pink. And here's what it looks like hanging up. I want to thank each and every one of you who have stuck with me until the end. You are appreciated. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and come back next week for part 2 of the Grapevine Wreath DIYs.